Okay, so talking about jurisdiction, first, jurisdiction is the power of the court or agency or tribunal to hear and decide cases. And jurisdiction, as we all know, and I know you know this, is mandated by law. Diba? So law confers jurisdiction. Now take a look at the jurisdiction of the National Labor Relations Commission. Bago yan, syempre, we have to take a look at the jurisdiction of the labor arbiter. Okay, so ito ang summary ng jurisdiction ng labor arbiter, practically under Article 224. You have unfair labor practice, legal dismissal, kasama din yung mga money claims na yan if accompanied with a claim for reinstatement. Damages arising out of employer-employee relationship. Okay? We'll go do that later on. Summarize lang natin. And then, violation of Article 264, which is now Article 279. That's the legality or prohibited activities during the conduct of a strike or lockout. And then, wage distortion in unorganized establishments. Okay? And then, yung compromise agreement under Article 233 of the Renumbered Labor Code. Of course, money claims of OFWs that we have already discussed under Republic Act 8042 as amended by Republic Act 10,022. So, unahin natin. Ito yan. So, in terms of claim for wage rates of pay, wages, hours of work, that should be accompanied with a claim for reinstatement. Kasi kung walang claim for reinstatement, jurisdiction does not belong to the labor arbiter. It belongs to the regional director under Article 128. Di ba? Now, claims for actual, moral, and exemplary and other forms of damages, make sure that they arise out of employer-employee relationship. Okay? And that's the ruling of the court in this case in 2020. Na hindi lahat ng claims for damages ay jurisdiction ng regular court. If the claim for damages arises out of employer-employee relationship, then the labor arbiter has jurisdiction. One example is in Article 300 of your labor code, that the employee needs to give a written notice to the employer 1 month ahead of the resignation. Otherwise, he would be liable for damages. So, ang damages na yan na claim ni employer should be filed with the labor arbiter. Okay? Now, ito yung violation ng Article 279 involving legality of strike and lockout. We'll talk about that much later. Now, hindi natin pwedeng dalhin sa labor arbiter ang claim for employees' compensation because you have the SSS and the Employees' Compensation Commission together with claims for benefits of employees under Republic Act 11199, that's the charter of the SSS. And then yung Medicare, kasi wala namang Medicare na ngayon, hindi ba? Ano na yan? PhilHealth na yan. Maternity benefits, SSS yan. And then all other claims na not exceeding 5,000. Kasi pag 5,000 money claims, yan ay kay Regional Director under Article 129. Now, above 5,000, ito ay kay labor arbiter. Later on, we'll talk about that under Article 129, although we're done with Article 129 before, no? Now, for claims of kasambahay, regardless of the amount of claim, kasi as of now, ang sweldo ng kasambahay sa Metro Manila ay 7,000. So that's above 5,000, di ba? So therefore, kay arbiter dapat. Now, the problem is you have batas kasambahay. Section 37 of Republic Act 10361 says that all labor-related disputes shall be elevated to the Department of Labor Regional Office having jurisdiction over the workplace. Kaya kahit na more than 5,000 yung money claims ng kasambahay, it's the Regional Director of the Department of Labor that should have jurisdiction. Now, although under Article 234 of the Labor Code, as amended by Republic Act 10396, yung mandatory conciliation. Ibig sabihin, even if the arbiter has no jurisdiction if the case is brought before the attention of the labor arbiter, the arbiter should not dismiss that. Rather, conduct mandatory conciliation. And the Department of Labor has already enforced the so-called SENA, di ba? Yung single entry approach. Kahit walang jurisdiction, mag-undergo kayo ng SENA, within a mandatory period of 30 calendar days, pag nagkasundo kayo, fine. The case is settled. The case is dismissed based on the agreement by the parties. Now, if the parties could not agree, that's the time it is referred to the agency or tribunal having jurisdiction on the matter. That's brought about by Republic Act 10396, reviving Article 234 of the Labor Code or the mandatory conciliation process. Okay? Pagdating sa wage distortion, we settle wage distortion depending on the nature of the establishment. If the establishment is organized, wala tayong problema because you have your collective bargaining agreement and you have to settle that through the grievance machinery and thereafter voluntary arbitration. Okay? Ngayon, kung unorganized, there's no union, therefore walang CBA yan, eventually, the labor arbiter would have jurisdiction over wage distortion. Okay? Article 124 of the Labor Code defines wage distortion as a situation where there is an increase in the minimum wage or the prescribed wage rate that results in the elimination or severe contraction of intentional wage differentiation among hierarchy of employees in the same employer and in the same region. Kaya yung tanong ngayong 2025 bar exam tungkol sa wage distortion, ikinukumpara yung Region 5 with other regions. So walang wage distortion yon. Kasi wage distortion should be within the same region. Okay? So, the labor arbiter under Section 10 Republic Act 8042 as amended by Republic Act 10,022 ay merong jurisdiction to hear and decide money claims of OFWs. Ito yung premature termination of OFW contract and jurisdiction for money claims ay sa labor arbiter. Okay? So ngayon, syempre, nagdesisyon si arbiter, anong gagawin natin? I think we have to file an appeal. Diba? So under Article 229 of the Labor Code. So you have to cite at least one of the 4 grounds for filing an appeal. So you have to do that within 10 calendar days. These are the grounds. Prima facie evidence of abuse, hindi grave abuse, abuse of discretion lamang, at on its face, there is abuse of discretion. Then, the decision or order was secured through fraud. Kaya lang pag gagamitin nyo, may graft and corruption na involved, ay kakasuhan nyo si arbiter sa ombudsman. Ano? Otherwise, aawayin kayo ni arbiter. Pure questions of law, or there are serious errors in the findings of facts that would result or cause grave irreparable damage or injury to the appellant. Now, to guide you, ganito ang simpleng paraan. So, let's say, nag-file ng illegal dismissal case ang employee. That's the normal case being brought before the labor arbiter. But take note, you do not file a case before the NLRC. Kay arbiter muna yan. Now, the arbiter, o bago pa makarating kay arbiter, magkakandak ng SENA yan. Single entry approach, no? That's mandatory conciliation. Pag nagkasundo, well and good. The case is dismissed or settled based on the agreement by the parties. Now, if they could not agree within 30 days, or even wala pang 30 days, gusto nang ipa-terminate yung SENA, pwede naman yon. At ire-refer dun sa agency having jurisdiction. Ayan na nga, si arbiter dahil illegal dismissal. Di syempre, kay arbiter, magkakandak pa rin naman yan ng mandatory conciliation. And then, thereafter, pag hindi nagkasundo, mag-file sila ng position paper. Palitan lang naman yan, hindi ba? Wala naman talagang actual trial type hearing dyan. So, palitan sila ng position paper. Pag gusto mo sagutin yung position paper ng kalaban, you file your reply. Yung kalaban, mag-file din ng reply. Palitan din kayo ulit. Okay? I know some of you may have experienced this already. Then, may gusto kang sagutin ulit dun sa reply, you file your rejoinder. And from that point, wala na susunod pang pleadings, the case is submitted for resolution. Under the Labor Code, dapat si arbiter magdesisyon within 30 calendar days. Siyempre, hindi naman yan nagaganap palagi. Kasi hindi lang naman yan yung kasong hawak ni arbiter. Marami silang kasong hawak, hindi ba? Okay, medyo 30 days and 6 months, 30 days and 1 year. Wala naman sigurong 1 year. Ayan. Ngayon, nagdesisyon si arbiter, hindi mo gusto yung desisyon. So you have to file an appeal to the NLRC, the National Labor Relations Commission. Okay? So pagka nag-file kayo ng kaso kay arbiter, hindi agad position paper, di ba? Mag-fill up muna kayo ng form, fill in the blanks lang naman yan, isusumpi na si employer, and then pag-uusapin kayo. Pag hindi talaga nagkasundo, that's the time you file your pleadings. Ngayon, natalo. For example, natalo si employer. The employer would have to file an appeal within 10 calendar days. At may mga requirements tayo dyan for the perfection of an appeal. So dapat yung appeal ninyo ay based dun sa grounds na binanggit natin kanina. Now, natalo pa rin dito sa NLRC, abay mag-file ka ng motion for reconsideration within 10 calendar days. Natalo pa rin yung motion for reconsideration sa NLRC yung MR. You have to file a petition for certiorari under Rule 65 within 60 calendar days to the Court of Appeals. Okay? Kaya ka nag-file ng motion for reconsideration because you need to exhaust all administrative remedies. Okay? So, from the Court of Appeals, natalo ka, do not file a motion for reconsideration anymore. Kaya lang, take note that the filing of a petition for certiorari under Rule 65 will not stop the running of the period. Kung si employer ang kliyente mo, tapos may monetary award, magiging final and executory yan. At inaalaw ng rules at ng jurisprudence ang execution pending appeal on the monetary award. Ayaw mong ipa-execute. So what do? You ask for an injunction under Rule 58. Pag nag-issue ng TRO ang Court of Appeal, swerte mo. Hindi magpapa-execute yan. Pero pag hindi nag-issue ng TRO ang Court of Appeals, because TRO is a matter of privilege, it's not a right. Well, you have to convince the appellate court that you are entitled to it. Hindi nag-issue ng TRO, magpapa-execute yan. At hindi ka na pwede mag-refund dyan kahit manalo ka pa. Okay? So kasi the filing of a petition for certiorari under Rule 65 will not stop the running of the period. The period will continue to run. Unlike an appeal that is perfected. So natalo yung certiorari mo under Rule 65. What do? Do not file a motion for reconsideration to the CA. Go to the Supreme Court on a petition for review on certiorari under Rule 45. But make sure that your basis is pure questions of law. Because the Supreme Court is not a trier of facts. Okay? So maliwanag tayo dyan, ha? Ngayon, natirate, the Supreme Court under the Constitution has 24 months. But take note, yan naman ay directory at not mandatory. Kasi may tumatagal yan minsan. Mas mahaba kaysa 24 months. Now, before, from the NLRC, you have to utilize certiorari under Rule 65, you go directly to the Supreme Court. But in 1998, everything changed. Sabi ng Korte Suprema, in that case of St. Martin Funeral Homes versus NLRC, doctrinal yan, yung petition for certiorari under Rule 65 is concurrent jurisdiction between the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. So observe the hierarchy of courts. Bago kayo pumunta sa Supreme Court, daan muna sa Court of Appeals from the NLRC. And that is now true with all other labor agencies. Before going to the Supreme Court, daan ka muna sa Court of Appeals. Okay? So, now, a special civil action for certiorari under Rule 65 is an extraordinary remedy. Kaya kailangan natin na mag-file ng motion for reconsideration. Because motion for reconsideration is a plain, speedy, adequate remedy that you have to avail of before availing of the extraordinary remedy of certiorari. And you have to allege grave abuse of discretion. What do you mean by grave abuse of discretion? When the findings of the NLRC are not supported by substantial evidence. which refer to the amount of relevant evidence that a reasonable mind might accept as adequate to justify a conclusion. Ibig sabihin daw ng grave abuse of discretion. Therefore, if the NLRC's ruling, walang kinalaman yung picture, has basis in the evidence and the applicable law and jurisprudence, then there's no grave abuse of discretion. So, dismiss yung Rule 65. But, take note that motion for reconsideration is a must. Because the purpose of filing a motion for reconsideration is to give the tribunal or board or office the opportunity to rectify its own errors or mistake. Nagkakamali din naman paminsan-minsan, hindi ba? Kailangan nating bigyan siya ng pagkakataon. Walang kinalaman yung picture, wala na yata second chance yan. Okay? So, otherwise, hindi ka nag-file ng motion for reconsideration, it would result into the outright dismissal of the case. Of course, there are exceptions, hindi ba? So, ang exception dyan, eto, 8 yan, ano? Sabi ng Korte Suprema, there is a patent nullity. Ibig sabihin, you can file directly a petition for certiorari without filing a motion for reconsideration. The questions raised in the certiorari proceedings, na-raise mo na ito dun sa lower court at wala rin nangyari. Or, there is an urgent necessity for the resolution. Dahil ang involved dito ay interest of the government or perishable goods. Di ba? Mabubulok yan pagka nag-motion for reconsideration ka pa. Under the circumstances, a motion for reconsideration would be useless. Wala nang kwenta. Bakit? Hindi ka naman pakikinggan eh. Where the petitioner was deprived of due process and there is urgent or extreme urgency for relief. Where in a criminal case, relief from an order of arrest is urgent. Kasi importante yung liberty because that is a constitutional right. Diba? Where the proceedings in the lower courts are nullity for lack of due process. And where the proceeding was ex parte. Di walang opportunity yung other party to be heard. And therefore, at saka yung last, where the issue raised is pure question of law, or where public interest is involved. Lahat ng ito ang mga exceptions na magpa-file ka ng certiorari without filing a motion for reconsideration. But, in practice, you observe the general rule. Saan na tayo maghanap ng exceptions, di ba? Pag na-deny yung iyong petition for certiorari under Rule 65, you have to file a petition for review on certiorari under Rule 45. But, anong sabi natin kanina? On pure questions of law. That's a requirement for filing a petition for review on certiorari. Because the Supreme Court does not review facts. The court is not duty-bound to analyze anew and weigh again the evidence introduced in the proceedings below. Diba? Sa NLRC yan. Therefore, the findings of the NLRC are generally accorded not only respect, but even finality, on the condition that the decision was supported by substantial evidence and affirmed by the Court of Appeals. Kasi pag nanalo ka sa arbiter, nanalo ka pa rin sa NLRC, in-affirm ng Court of Appeals, medyo malabo-labo nang i-reverse pa ng Korte Suprema yan eh. However, a disharmony of findings. May disharmony ba itong dalawang ito? Parang meron, ano? A disharmony between the factual findings of the arbiter and the NLRC. Sabi ng arbiter, walang employer-employee relationship. On appeal, sabi ng NLRC, may employer-employee relationship. Baka reviewin ng Korte Suprema yan. However, the Supreme Court does not review factual issues. But then again, may mga exceptions yan. Di ba? Now, kailangan ba nating mag-file pa ng motion for reconsideration when we are utilizing Rule 45? From the Court of Appeals to the Supreme Court, sabi ng Korte Suprema in that case of Zunio versus First Quantum Leap, hindi na. Diba? You do not need to file a motion for reconsideration to the Court of Appeals when your certiorari petition under Rule 65 was denied. So, diretso ka na, Rule 45, but again, on pure questions of law. Of course, if the appellant to the NLRC is the employer, you have to post bond. Cash bond or surety bond. Madali yung cash, hindi ba? Pero yan, i-deposito mo doon sa cashier ng NLRC. Equivalent to the amount of the monetary award. Paano ba yung surety? Ito ba yung pag tumama ka sa loto? Ikaw ay surety. Di ba? Hindi naman. You have to look for a bonding company. Di ba? But make sure that your bonding company is accredited by the NLRC. Kasi pag hindi accredited yan, walang kwenta yung bond na yan. Hindi tatanggapin yan. Then of course, you have to pay appeal fee. Sa pagkakaalam natin hanggang ngayon ay 500 pesos. Okay? So yan, syempre may nagtatanong dahil sabi dun sa Article 292 ng Labor Code, pagka nag-file ka ng labor cases, wala dapat docket fee. Magkaiba po yung appeal fee sa docket fee. Di ba? Docket fee, pag the moment nag-file ka ng kaso, pero pag nag-appeal ka, ay ibang usapan yon. Because appeal, as we all know, is not a constitutional right. It is a mere statutory right. Kaya sabi ko dun sa isang kliyente, bakit daw magbabayad ng appeal fee? Kung simple lang yan. Hindi ka naman magiging ma-appeal kung hindi ka gagastos, hindi ba? So gusto mo maging ma-appeal? Gastos ka. So yan ang jurisdiction ng labor arbiter, NLRC, Court of Appeals, up to the Supreme Court. Okay? Now, puntahan naman natin yung jurisdiction ng Regional Director ng Department of Labor. Under Article 128. And I think natapos na natin ito sa ibang mga lectures natin, hindi ba? During the discussion on labor standards. So ito, the Secretary of Labor or his duly authorized representatives. Sino ba representative ng Secretary sa region? In the 18 regions that we have, the regional director. They shall have access to the employer's records and premises. Take note, at any time of the day or night, for as long as work is being undertaken therein. Motu proprio, pwede yan kahit walang complainant, hindi ba? So, ano ang dala-dala nila? Meron itong inspection order. Baka may violation, labor standards sa laws na binabiolate, ano? May inspection order na dala-dala yan. Pagkatapos, di syempre nakakita ng mga paglabag siguro. Ang susunod na matatanggap ni employer ay compliance order. Well, the employer can do three things. Comply para matapos na, send your compliance report, or pwede niyang i-contest. Di ba? Under Article 128, paragraph B. Ito ang nakalagay, pero B yan. Dahil sasabihin niya dun sa binigyan siya ng compliance order, sasabihin niya, teka muna, i-contest ko ito kasi may mga issues tayo na kailangan natin ng hearing. Therefore, anong gagawin ni Regional Director? I-refer niya ito sa arbiter for hearing. Or, the third thing that the employer can do is to file an appeal. Okay, mag-a-appeal siya the Secretary of Labor within 10 calendar days. Yon. Now, what are the grounds for appeal? Of course, the same grounds na nakita natin kanina for filing an appeal to the NLRC. Okay? So, hindi natin kailangan i-memorize pa yan, ha? Ngayon, eto, bigyan ko kayo ng case flow, ha? Merong compliance order, assuming hindi siya nag-comply. Kasi pag nag-comply siya, tapos na eh. Pwede niyang i-appeal or i-contest niya. Okay? So, pag inapila niya, ang appeal kay Secretary of Labor. 10 calendar days lahat tayo dito, ha? 10 calendar days lahat siya. Now, the Secretary of Labor denied your appeal. So, you have to file a motion for reconsideration within that same period of 10 calendar days. Another 10 days ito. Now, talo pa rin yung MR, then you go to the Court of Appeals under Rule 65. You have 60 calendar days to do that. Okay? Certiorari ang gagamitin. Kaya nag-MR tayo for purposes of exhausting administrative remedies. Then, kung kailangan ng TRO, manghingi ng TRO. But as I keep on saying, nasa rules naman ito at nasa jurisprudence, the issuance of an injunction is a privilege. It's not a right. You have to convince the appellate court that you are entitled to it. Okay? And then, natalo pa rin yung ating certiorari, you go to the Supreme Court via petition for review and certiorari, Rule 45, you have 15 calendar days to do that. Okay? Siyempre, kung nakarating Supreme Court, natalo, magbayad na. O kaya magtago na gagawa ng iba, di ba? Okay. Puntahan naman natin yung Article 129. Take note, jurisdiction pa rin ito ng Regional Director ng Department of Labor, di ba? Kaya lang, ang sabi ng Korte Suprema, there are 3 requisites so that the Department of Labor Regional Office can acquire jurisdiction. Una, the claim arises out of employer-employer relationship. Kasi kung walang employer-employer relationship, walang jurisdiction kahit itong si arbiter. 2, the claimant is no longer employed and does not seek reinstatement. Kasi if he is seeking reinstatement, illegal dismissal yan, kay arbiter siya dapat, hindi kay regional director. And the aggregate money claim of each employee does not exceed 5,000. Okay? So, ang sabi ng Korte Suprema, itong 1, 2, 3 requirements na ito, dapat lahat sila ay naririyan. In the absence of any of them, the regional director will not have jurisdiction. Okay? So, ano naman ang solusyon natin dito? Di syempre, pag nagbayad ka na, money claims yan, di tapos na. Gusto mo pa rin i-apila, di mag-apila ka, kaya lang ang appeal mo, hindi kay secretary. The appeal must be done within 5 calendar days. Nagmamadali, di ba? At ito naman sa NLRC i-aapila, hindi kay Secretary of Labor. So magkaiba, di ba? Pareho itong jurisdiction ng Regional Director, 128, 129, pero magkaiba ang appellate body. 128 kay Secretary, 129 sa NLRC. So to give you an illustration, money claims ito for example, i-aapila natin 5 calendar days sa NLRC. Ang problema, ayaw niya pa rin magbayad. Kaya sabi ko sa mga employer dyan, bayaran mo na lang. Kasi 5,000 lang naman yan. Di ba? Ayaw talaga magbayad. Yung mga ganong employers na kahit 5,000 gusto i-contest. Ngayon, file ka na motion for reconsideration. Pagka na-deny yung appeal mo. Appeal ay 5 days, motion for reconsideration 10 days. Bakit? We are now following the rules of the NLRC. Talo pa rin yung MR mo, then you go to the Court of Appeals via petition for certiorari under Rule 65. And if you need to get an injunction, file for it under Rule 58. And finally, Rule 45 to the Supreme Court on pure questions of law. You have 15 calendar days to do that. Okay? So, tinanong ng 2009 bar exam, pwede bang ma-exercise ng regional director yung kanyang visitorial enforcement power even if the individual claim exceeds 5,000? Dito nalito ang sambayanan. Kasi pag more than 5,000, kay arbiter yan, di ba? Kaso po, ang premise, visitorial and enforcement power. Therefore, you do not take a look at the amount because what is applicable is Rule o Article 128. Visitorial and enforcement power. And it is supported by jurisprudence in 2009. The case of Valladares versus Peak Ventures. That even if the amount of the individual claim exceeds 5,000 under Article 128, the regional office has jurisdiction because it is a violation of labor standards case. Kasi sinabi na doon sa tanong visitorial enforcement power, walang jurisdictional amount yung 128. Yung 129, kung sinabing simple money claims, recovery of wages, then you apply Article 129. Diba? So that's what you call the technique of spotting the real issue. Kasi minsan, tama yung sagot, pero mali yung tanong. Diba? So you have the right answer for the wrong question. Dapat you have the right answer for the right question. Okay? Of course, may mga contempt powers yan. Diba? Lahat ng desisyon ng arbiter, iaapila sa NLRC. Ang desisyon ng regional director under Article 129 ay iaapil natin sa NLRC. The NLRC ay merong contempt power. At yung contempt power na ito does not distinguish. So the NLRC has direct and indirect contempt powers. Kasama dyan ang mga labor arbiters as ruled by the court in 2012 at di naman nagbabago yan, Robosa versus NLRC, but make sure that you utilize this power pursuant to the manner prescribed under Rule 71 of the Rules of Court on contempt. At ang general rule dyan, hindi ginagamit yung contempt vindictively. Hindi katulad ng iba, nagsisinungaling ka, you're lying, I'll cite you in contempt. Diba? Panakot, hindi ganun. Ginagamit lang po yung contempt powers to preserve the dignity and respect due to the court or tribunal. Clear ang Korte Suprema dyan. Okay? So let's proceed to the jurisdiction of the voluntary arbitrators. Ang applicable provisions ay Article 273 up to 277. But if there's any consolation, in the past 30 years of the bar exam, I could tell you na siguro mga 2% lang ang procedural na tanong. 98% of the time, ang tanong sa labor ay substantive law, not procedural. Okay? Kaya you expect the procedural questions in remedial law. Kasi halo-halo ng procedure doon eh. Kaya nga 25% ang remedial law together with legal ethics. By the way, na-institutionalize na ng Korte Suprema yung bar examination process by amending Rule 138. So number one, regional. I think na-post ko na sa group chat natin. Regional, digital, at yung chairman ang mag-identify ng iba't ibang testing centers. At it will be conducted on 3 days in September. At na-schedule na yan, Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday. And the subjects are already identified. So, naka-post naman yan doon sa group chat natin. So, i-check nyo na lang. And if you want to take the bar exam, and I know you have, the first thing you do is to look at the syllabi of the different subjects. And if you want to assess yourself, tingnan nyo, gawin yung checklist yung syllabus. Ito bang topic na ito, kaya ko sagutin, ano man tanong dyan? Check. Ganon. Kasi talagang wala namang tao na makapagsabi na ready na siya to take the bar. Wala akong nakita. Siguro kung meron man, iilan lang yan, na talagang ready sila to take the bar exam. Kaya kung feeling nyo hindi pa kayo ready, ay hindi kayo nag-iisa, marami kayo. Diba? Kaya huwag matakot. Okay? Ang sabi natin ni Juan, si Corita ba yun? Yung takot ay nasa isip lamang. Alisin yung takot. Okay, so let's proceed to Article 273 up to 277, the grievance machinery and voluntary arbitration. All grievances must be submitted to the grievance machinery. At dapat i-resolve ito ng grievance machinery within 7 calendar days. Otherwise, pupunta tayo sa voluntary arbitration. Sino bang voluntary arbitrator? Article 219N. A voluntary arbitrator is any person accredited by the board. And we are now referring to the National Conciliation Mediation Board. Or any person named by the parties in the CBA. So kahit hindi accredited ng NCMB, pwede maging voluntary arbitrator. Pag siya ay identified by the parties, sino bang parties dito? The employer and the union, the bargaining union. So a voluntary arbitrator, take note, is not an employee of the Department of Labor. So kaya walang sweldo sa Department of Labor yan. Kasi nagbabayad yan. Andun, Article 277, paghahatian ng employer at ng union yan. The parties to a CBA must designate a voluntary arbitrator. So ano yung risk ng arbitration? Hindi naman kasi kailangang abogado ang voluntary arbitrator. So kaya sabi ng Korte Suprema in 2016, wala silang training ng isang legal magistrate. Therefore, there is a risk that the arbitrator might misapply the law or misappreciate the facts and route to an erroneous decision. Diba? Mga abogado nga, nagkakamali din. So in 2017, ito yung tinanong. Yan yung mga arbitrators natin dun sa West Philippine Sea case, no? Ano ang jurisdiction ng voluntary arbitrator or pag marami, panel of voluntary arbitrators? So, umpisahin natin. Jurisdiction lang sa Article 274. to hear and decide all unresolved grievances. Anong definition ng grievance? Grievance is defined under Article 273. Ano yun? Any question either by the employer or the union regarding interpretation and implementation of the collective bargaining agreement, or any question on the enforcement and interpretation of company personnel policy. Kasi ang management ay merong management prerogative. So baka mali ang pag-interpret, yan po ay isang grievance. So dadali natin ito sa voluntary arbitrator kung hindi makakayanan ng grievance machinery. Ngayon, so yan po ang sabi ng Korte Suprema noong 2010, na merong original and exclusive jurisdiction ang voluntary arbitrators over all grievances that we have mentioned already. Now, except yung mga grievances na gross in character o yung violation of the collective bargaining agreement that is gross in character. Kasi pag gross violation ng CBA provision, yan ay unfair labor practice. Sino may jurisdiction over unfair labor practice? Di siyempre si labor arbiter. Hindi na ang grievance machinery. Now, for the purpose of Article 274, a gross violation of the CBA shall mean flagrant or malicious refusal to comply with the economic provisions of the CBA. Kasi kapag yung representation aspect, yung unionism, ay simple violation, unfair labor practice yun. Pag economic provisions, we need gross violation para maging ULP. Okay? Ano bang example nito? Ayan din naman ang sabi ng Korte Suprema, di ba? Gross violation ay malicious and flagrant refusal to comply with the economic provisions of the CBA. So, consistent yan. Okay? Ito pa ang isa. Ano nga bang example nito? Halimbawa, doon sa inyong collective bargaining agreement, meron kayo signing bonus na 2,000. 2,000 signing bonus. Abay, nakakatatlong taon na ayaw pa ibigay ni employer. Baka malicious and flagrant refusal na yan. Pero 3 taon ayaw ibigay yung signing bonus. Na signing bonus, binibigay kapag pumirma na kayo sa CBA, di ba? Hindi nyo nadadaling kay voluntary arbitrator yan. File nyo na yan kay labor arbiter, but you have to allege that it was a gross violation of the economic provision. Okay? Now, meron jurisdiction ang voluntary arbitrators over wage distortion in organized establishment. Na-discuss na natin kanina, ano ba yung organized at ano yung unorganized. Okay? At yung mga grievances pa rin arising out of the productivity incentive program. Ano ito? Profit sharing. Now, kapag ang issue ay nasa jurisdiction ng voluntary arbitrator or the grievance machinery, hindi dapat nakikialam ang NLRC. Yung labor arbiter, pag sinabi regional branches, yan ay labor arbiters. The regional directors of the Department of Labor. So, kapag may ganitong issue na dinala sa kanila, ang gagawin nila, i-refer nyo yan doon sa CBA nila for voluntary arbitration. Yan ang sinasabi ng Korte Suprema. Kasi ito, simple violation of the CBA provision, dinala kay arbiter, masyadong masipag si arbiter, pinakialaman niya. Ang sabi ng Korte Suprema, arbiter, hindi ka ba busy? Pati wala sa jurisdiction mo, gusto mong pakialaman? Napagalitan tuloy. Huwag pakikialaman ng hindi sa'yo. Huwag assuming. Okay? Kaya nasasaktan yung mga assuming, hindi ba? Now, tanong, pwede ba nating isubmit sa voluntary arbitrator ang iba pang labor issues katulad ng unfair labor practice? Katulad ng illegal dismissal, ang sagot ay nasa Article 275 ng Labor Code. Ano yon? By agreement of the parties. Nag-agree sila na yung unfair labor practice, daling kay arbitrator, nag-agree sila ng illegal dismissal, daling kay voluntary arbitrator, walang problema doon. That's provided by the rules and even supported by jurisprudence, hindi ba? Kaya lang, ano sabi ng Korte Suprema? The phrase all other labor disputes may include termination, illegal dismissal. Pwede rin unfair labor practice, provided it is in their agreement. Ano ba yung agreement nila? Nasa collective bargaining agreement. Nag-agree sila, naka-stipulate doon. Pero, there must be an express stipulation that you are submitting illegal dismissal and unfair labor practice to the jurisdiction of the voluntary arbitrators or panel of voluntary arbitrators. Otherwise, kung wala kayong express stipulation, walang jurisdiction ng voluntary arbitrator kasi yan po ay original and exclusive jurisdiction of the labor arbiter. The agreement of the parties will not be binding kung walang express stipulation. Okay? So, anong procedure natin? All grievances must be submitted. Nasa Article 276, ano? Dinefine natin kung ano yung grievance. I-submit sa grievance sa grievance machinery. By the way, kung wala kayong grievance machinery, and I've seen some collective bargaining agreements na walang grievance machinery, under the rules, Department Order 40-03, kailangan ninyong gumawa ng grievance committee composed of at least 2 members of the union or 2 representatives of the employer. So, dala-dalawa, pwede mas marami, pero equal distribution. Yan ang grievance committee. Iba naman yung komita. Marami yan sa flood control. Okay? Pero dito sa labor, committee lang tayo. Okay. So, ngayon, unless the parties agree otherwise, the voluntary arbitrator should resolve all grievances within 20 calendar days. In that period, dapat mag-issue siya ng arbitral award. And that shall become final and executory within 10 days, after 10 days from receipt. At sabi ng implementing rules, bawal mag-file ng motion for reconsideration. Paano yun? Sabi ng Korte Suprema, hindi. Mag-file kayo ng motion for reconsideration. You have that case of Guagua National College versus Court of Appeals. That if you do not agree to the arbitral award, you have to file a motion for reconsideration. Kanino? Doon sa voluntary arbitrator na nag-issue ng arbitral award. Gaano katagal? Di syempre, mag-file kayo within the 10-day period. Magiging final and executory yan. Yan ang sabi ng Korte Suprema in that case in 2018. At naulit pa yan. Kasi ang gagamitin natin ay Rule 43. Diba? Sa Rule 43, under Section 15, you have 15 calendar days to go to the Court of Appeals to assail the validity of the arbitral award. 10 days magiging final na. So yung 10 days, mag-file ka ng motion for reconsideration. That's why here is the procedure. May grievance ka, isubmit natin sa grievance machinery. The grievance machinery must resolve that within 7 calendar days. And then, punta tayo dun sa voluntary arbitration. Pwede bang ma-extend yung 20 days? Pwede, kaya lang magbabayad kayo ng mahal. Diba? Kasi isa yan dun sa mga parameters in fixing the payment of the voluntary arbitrator, yung time consumed in hearing the case. So matapos yung desisyon ng voluntary arbitrator, we call that arbitral award, you file a motion for reconsideration. Whatever happens to your motion for reconsideration, that's the time you go up to the Court of Appeals. Take note, Rule 43 lang ang gagamitin natin. You have 15 calendar days to do that. Now, from the Court of Appeals, you have to go to the Supreme Court by a petition for review on certiorari and the Rule 45, again on pure questions of law. Okay? And please do not make a mistake of utilizing Rule 65 from a decision of the voluntary arbitrator to the Court of Appeals. That's not the proper remedy according to the Supreme Court. Because Rule 65 lies only if there is no appeal nor plain, speedy, and adequate remedy under the ordinary course of law. The remedy of certiorari is not a substitute for a lost appeal. Diba? Pag nawala ang appeal, anong gagawin? Abay, delikado tayo dyan. Because good lawyers never lose their appeal. And lawyers don't retire. We just lose our appeal. Diba? So kaya sabi ng Korte Suprema, that's not the proper remedy. Ang remedyo, pumunta kayo sa Court of Appeals under Rule 43. Okay? So, dito natin makikilala ang National Conciliation Mediation Board. It is not part of the original provisions of the Labor Code. But it's very important because the functions of the BLR, the Bureau of Labor Relations, naiwan na lamang sa BLR ang inter-union at intra-union disputes. Yung kanyang arbitration, conciliation, mediation function, binigay ng lahat sa NCMB. The NCMB was created in 1987 via 2 executive orders of former President Cory Aquino. At ang NCMB ay may jurisdiction over preventive mediation. Ano yung preventive mediation? Pag-usapin kayo para hindi mag-strike, hindi mag-lockout. We call that preventive mediation. Okay? At ito pa ang mga functions niya. Sa dinami-dami ng functions nito, tatandaan nyo yung pang-8. Ano yun? Perform such other functions as may be provided by law or assigned by the Secretary. Yan ang mga functions yan. Pero basically, conciliation, mediation, kahit na pagka mag-i-strike yung union o magla-lockout yung employer, diyan nagpapadala ng notice sa NCMB. So napakarami ng kapangyarihan ng NCMB. But take note, wala siyang coercive power of injunction. Hindi po pwede na mag-issue ng injunction ang NCMB. Okay? So, yan ang mga importanteng jurisdiction of the different agencies in the Department of Labor.
Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to CD Duca Law, where law is made simple and life is made easier. See you next time!